meso abo anogara akafurika, nzeve dzavo dzinogara dzakavhurika, zvese connected musharukwa, kamba kwevanogaya mari, meso abo anogara.
Right, 6 September 2023, and today I've got a dramatic turn of events in the Zimbabwe 2023 elections issue that has been with us over the past 2 weeks. There has been dramatic developments today, and SADC, and particularly Zambian chairperson of the SADC Observer Mission, Nevas Mumba, has come out to clarify the status of President Mnangagwa and of Nelson Chamisa. So I want you guys to listen very, very carefully, because I wanted to discuss other issues today, but I've decided to handle this issue because this is very, very important. So what has happened today is that Nevas Mumba was on Zambian or on South African television stations, and he has clarified that the report which was issued by SADC is not a preliminary report, but it's actually a final report of SADC. And as far as SADC is concerned, the election that was held in Zimbabwe is not a legitimate election, and therefore there is currently, as we speak right now, no one who was legitimately elected to be president in Zimbabwe, and therefore the Zimbabwean government or President Mnangagwa, if he is aggrieved, he should approach SADC in Botswana. They know the process. So I want to play you this clip, and then I want to play you the response by George Charamba. But what is clear is that SADC is not recognizing President Mnangagwa at all, and he has to follow the process. So President Mnangagwa is in a very, very tight spot as we speak. SADC is not recognizing him. So let's listen to what Nevas Mumba said here. We then listen to the response by George Charamba, and then we're going to listen to the response by Nelson Chamisa. So those 3 interviews, I want you to look at them very, very carefully, and then we'll conclude very, very quickly.
I had the honor of presenting the final report to the chairman of the Troika, President Hakainde Hichilema, and our team, which I should confess has been a professional team from the beginning to the end, did an excellent job. And the only difference between the first report and the final report is that in the final report, we include all the developments that took place after the election up to the 20th.
Right. So I want you to understand what he said. The report that has been presented to SADC is final. It's not a preliminary report. And then I want to quickly look for the place where he explains what President Mnangagwa needs to do if he does not agree with this report. My apologies about that. I think we're gonna have to listen to an advert.
Tax sale is back with up to 35% off on your favorite Samsung products. Like
limitation, and it was a point of conflict. The ballot papers, when they should be released through transparency, we had to go back to the Constitution of Zimbabwe to see what it says. It talks about transparency, and we noticed that the other laws that were enacted to block that transparency, we didn't tell them what to do with that law, but we are mandated to point it out that this law stands in the way of a democratic process, and it could actually affect the outcome or the legitimacy of the outcome of the election.
There's pressure right now to discredit the report by those who are aggrieved. And they went as far as saying your proximity to the opposition in Zimbabwe can be a factor. How do you respond to those allegations?
Let me make it clear. I think that our brothers in Zimbabwe need to understand that everybody means well for them. There is no one who goes there with a mission to destabilize or to disturb the Zimbabwean people. Zimbabwe, Zambia, Malawi, SADC, we are one people. And our job is to make sure that we talk about those things that are going to improve the way we serve our communities. And that's what SADC does. We don't go there with personal agendas. For them to go and call in some people Western puppets, saying that probably the head of mission knows the opposition leader, I think it's unfortunate and it's mischievous, because they know that even if I had known the opposition, I don't have power to change a sentence in the statement, because I am not the one who writes the statement. It is written through a scientific process of more than 25 people that work on that document to make sure that it's legit. So I think those are challenges that our brothers are facing, and our advice really is as follows: that they should not shoot the messenger. I think our colleagues in Zimbabwe should do what every other member nation does when they are challenged on the process of elections. There is a channel within the SADC framework within which Zimbabwe can take their grievances to Gaborone, to the headquarters, through the heads of mission, through the heads of states when they meet, and they can talk about how they feel about the report. They can protect themselves, they can defend themselves, but not fighting on the streets.
Right. So I need you to understand what he's saying here. So what he's saying here is that the report is final. There are two reports. There is a preliminary report that was first presented and publicized. Then there's a final report that was drafted by more than 20 people. That is now sitting at SADC, and that is going to undergo a process. But as far as SADC is concerned, their report says there was no legitimate election in Zimbabwe. That is what it says. So as far as SADC is concerned right now, in Gaborone, they do not have a legitimate election that took place in Zimbabwe. So listen to that very, very carefully. Then I'm going to play for you what George Charamba said. And I think I'll make my comment about what he said afterwards. So he also responded to this very same report from Nevers Mumba. And then I'm going to play Nelson Chamisa, what he said. And then we're going to wrap this up very, very quickly today. So my apologies about the slow loading there.
Right? What it means is the preliminary report still has to, one, become a final report. And when it becomes a final report, it still has to be tabled before a council of ministers.
Right. I'm pausing George there. I want you guys to understand what's happening. George is saying there is a preliminary report, but you just heard Mumba saying that there's a final report. So what's happening here is that George is misleading the public. He's misleading people. There is a final report of SADC as we speak,
which is really a body which brings together foreign ministers of SADC.
Of the trade.
Yes. No, it is actually, it could be larger actually, right? So there's a council of ministers, and it's probably meeting around February, March, right? Then when that has happened, then the foreign ministers must look at that report. They will then push it upwards to the SADC Troika, which will be around or thereabout, right? It still has to come to summit,
Yes.
And this will be about August next year, right? It is only at summit that that report is tabled, discussed, amended, endorsed, or rejected. And I have news for you. That SADC summit will be here in Zimbabwe.
Right. So let's clarify what's happening here. And I'm going to stop, George. You guys can go and watch these interviews. And remember, I still need to play Chamisa. So let me explain to you what has happened. Again, the SADC Observer Mission has produced a final report. It has been sent to Botswana. It was created by more than 20 people. The Zimbabweans, which includes George Charamba here, they have been told what to do if they want to challenge that report. They need to go to follow the process and go to Botswana and challenge the report. As far as SADC is concerned, there was no election in Zimbabwe that produced a legitimate president. This is what the report said. They did not follow the process. The election did not meet the standards that are set by SADC. George is saying the report is not final. He is telling SADC that their report is not final. I don't know if you guys understand what's happening here. George and ZANU-PF, they have to follow the process according to the SADC Observer Mission, but they are refusing. They are saying that report is not final. The implication is very, very significant. What this means is that SADC has said this election is not legitimate. Now, let's see what Chamisa said. And I want to wrap this up. As I said, this is self-explanatory, and I want you guys to be able to watch this interview. So I don't want to keep talking. These are very, very self-explanatory things that have happened today. So I want to play the portion where Chamisa is explaining what he's going to do next. And I think this is also very, very significant.
Well, of course, we are engaging Zimbabweans. Zimbabweans are very clear. They understand where we are going. We are very clear that we will make sure that we express ourselves peacefully, constitutionally, until there is a legitimate government in this country. As we speak, there is no legitimate government in Zimbabwe. There's a disputed and a self-declared, through ZAC, president, and that must be corrected. Otherwise, this country cannot move because there is an illegitimate government.
They are saying, some of your critics, that you don't have the necessary reforms to challenge the ZAC in terms of their pronouncement of the election results.
Anybody can say anything. The bottom line is that we managed to win this sham election. You can't say we are disorganized when we have the number of MPs we have managed to have in a dispute.
Right. I'm going to stop Chamisa here. So I want to wrap this up so that you guys can have an opportunity to watch these interviews. These are significant interviews. Don't take what has happened today lightly. ZANU-PF, they've basically been dethroned by SADC until they challenge this report, because there's now a final report. And a final report of SADC is significant. As far as SADC is concerned, in Zimbabwe right now, there was no valid presidential election. This is what he said, it's final. It's not something due for discussion in April or February or December or whatever, where Charamba is trying to push this thing. He's trying to push it forward. But SADC has already said the report is final and it's been accepted. They now need to go. So President Mnangagwa and ZANU-PF, they now need to go to SADC to challenge this report, which is final. So internationally, as far as international law is concerned, this is what has happened in Zimbabwe. There has been no valid election. So I don't want to take long here, and I want to quickly look at the comments which are here so that I can see if there's anything significant to deal with. Let's talk to Vincent. Vincent is saying, who is SADC? If you don't know SADC, Vincent, I don't know who you are. You need to know what SADC is. SADC, we talked about this yesterday. They've got extreme powers in this region to do these kind of things. And go and watch those interviews. Digest what is being said there. Digest what Charamba is saying. Digest what Mumba is saying. Digest what Chamisa is saying. What Chamisa is saying is very, very powerful. He is saying he's not accepting that government which was elected. And Mumba is saying there is no government in Zimbabwe until they challenge it at Botswana. This basically what they're saying. As far as SADC is concerned, every single SADC country is not going to recognize the election that happened in Zimbabwe. And this is in black and white. You can see it's there on the channel. You go on SABC. That's why you see, have you ever seen Joe Charamba on TV before wearing a suit? He is doing that because he knows the significance of what has happened today. The final report has been produced, and ZANU-PF now has to act. If they do not act, if they do not follow that process of challenging the report, then SADC will have to come back and make a determination on the case in Zimbabwe. And Chamisa's position is clear. That election that was not held, that was not held, is not a proper election, and he wants dialogue. We heard Chamisa speaking there. He wants dialogue to take place. Elections cannot take place under the current conditions. Let's see if there's anything else here. Friska is saying, Lord bless and protect Zimbabwe and all citizens. I agree with you. We are at a very, very delicate stage here. Anything can happen now. At this very moment, do not discount the things that are just about to happen in Zimbabwe. This now needs very, very calm heads. People need to talk. If the guys in ZANU-PF like George are allowed to continue to push this hard line, eventually something very, very bad is going to happen. Everyone needs to now sit down and talk. And I've been saying this over the past week. The only way out of this situation is for people to sit down and talk and discuss power sharing. There is no way out of this situation except a power sharing arrangement, because SADC has a final report now. You cannot just take a final report and reverse it. And I know that the guys who know what Mumba was saying, they understand what it means. What are the implications? I'm sure the presidents are talking behind the scenes, but President Mnangagwa has to take leadership here. They cannot ignore what SADC has said and hope that everything will just happen. This is what I wanted to talk about today. I will talk about the ZANU-PF succession issues after. This is very, very urgent. So I had to talk about it today. And then tomorrow is, what is tomorrow? Let's see what happens tomorrow on Thursday. But guys, go and watch those 3 interviews. Nelson Chamisa, Mumba, and Charamba. They are all on SABC. Understand what they say and the significance on the Zimbabwean political landscape. Something big is about to happen in our country. And as I said, it's a history in the making. As I always say to you guys, do not be afraid of ZANU-PF. Everyone should now understand the fear that you have of ZANU-PF is what has been taking us back. We now need to engage ZANU-PF. And every single Zimbabwean need to do what the guys in Bulawayo did today. Take up your position. I am very happy that the CCC guys are not boycotting. They are going in there, they are taking their position. They need to go into government, they need to become part of a power sharing agreement. This thing of boycotting must end. Chamisa must now step up and represent the people, because once you get power sharing in Zimbabwe, this is how things are going to move. Things can move with all this limbo, like years and years of being in limbo. That won't work. So I'm happy that SADC is taking a firm stance. Chamisa is taking a firm stance. ZANU-PF will eventually have to respond, because that election has been discredited by everybody. AU, Commonwealth. I don't even know how many people have discredited this election. So very, very interesting. But go and have a look at all those interviews today. I think Ibo Mandaza also has an interview. Everybody's talking. So keep watching and let's talk again very, very soon. And let's see what are the new developments tomorrow. If there's something new, I'm going to come back and give you an update. Otherwise, it will be on the weekend. Thank you very much and good night.
Anovura meso, anovura nzebe, anogaya marigi. Kama kwetu tikom, kwetu tikom usasai. Kama kwe anogaya marigi.
Kamba kwe uyo, anotara mari, anogaya mari, garai mamunzo. Paninya pano pani